was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, oh, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will now. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. Oh, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, oh, but I know a change gonna come.
We are so fortunate to have Blue Jazz bringing us into our unveiling ceremony. I'd like to welcome back up, this is maybe a little known fact, but Delphine is the main model for our Sally, which will be unveiled. She's bringing us to the top of the hour with Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come. Delphine Kirkland, Blue Jazz.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, oh, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will now. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. Oh, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, oh, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will now. Well, I go to the movie and I go downtown. Oh, people keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, oh, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will now. And I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me please. Oh, but he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there been times when I thought I wouldn't last for long. Oh, but now I know I'm able, oh, to carry on. It's been a long time coming, oh, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will now. Say it's been a long time coming. Oh, but I know a change gonna come.
Good morning. Welcome all to Franklin's Women's History Party. I'm Mary Clancy, and on behalf of the Folk Heritage Association of Macon County, I want to welcome you to the unveiling of Sowing the Seeds of the Future, a magnificent public art sculpture by sculptor Wesley Nutt. This park and the three women in the sculpture will now serve as the beginning or the trailhead of the Women's History Trail of Franklin and Macon County. The Women's History Trail, or the WHT as we've come to call it, opened in 2018 and was the first women's history trail in the state of North Carolina. This was a very important project to the Folk Heritage Association of Macon County. Barbara McCrae's vision for the WHT and a passion for the public art representing lives of important women in our local history. These are the two things and the two reasons we are here today. You will hear the stories of Naka, Rebecca, Sally, and Harriet Tamexina, but you'll also be able to read their stories on the bronze plaques, and you'll be able to touch the art today that brings them alive for our community. I gotta say it again. This is a good morning. And I'm gonna mention a couple of other womanly phrases to you all, and we'll hear our grandmothers or our mamas or our aunts. And the first one is, good gracious. And good gracious is what this day is about too, because there is so much grace in the presenting of these women's stories that will lead us to more curiosity, more sharing, and a community sense of pride that comes forward from history to our lives here in the present. And the second comment that you likely heard from your aunt or your grandma or your great-grandma was, for goodness sake. And we know the goodness in this gift that we're giving today to our community. And now I would like to introduce you to some very special women, and we call ourselves the leadership team. And I would have you all come up now, and I'll introduce you.
That's what we do.
Ann Hyder, and she is the chair of the Folk Heritage Association. Marty Griebel, who has been my co-leader in the Women's History Trail project, and who is vice chair of the Folk Heritage Association. Teresa Ramsey, who is treasurer of the Folk Heritage Association. And believe me, with all this we had to do to make this happen, this lady is the financial person. She's been critical.
Thank you for the money.
And finally, Claire Saminsky, and she is also a board member of the Folk Heritage Association. I would just like to say that I would like a special applause for Claire's efforts to making this event comfortable, pleasant, upbeat, and safe for you today. So let's thank Claire.
In thinking about our song, Change is Going to Come, it is starting to feedback. Change has come, folks. We are here. We are at the finish line. We have worked so long and hard for this project, starting prior to 2016, but first working on the trail, and then immediately after the trail started and we had 15 plaques, we started on the sculpture project. We've been devoted to it. We have established many relationships. Some people out here that I've talked to, cultural things that have happened. We've learned so much about Cherokee women and African American women, enslaved women especially, for the time period that this sculpture represents. And also Thymoxina Siler Sloan, who is the third figure in our sculpture, who is leading us into the future. And it is called Sowing the Seeds of the Future, meaning that change is happening. And as Thymoxina walked into the future, if she were stepping off that sculpture, she would be able to share with us what was going to happen next. Looking at this sculpture, seeing it on paper, seeing the advertising, the promos that we have, there's nothing like seeing those ladies in person. When you look at them, you are going to be mesmerized and it will change your life. I absolutely believe that, and I hope it does touch you in that way. Our next speaker is Janet Jacobs Green. She has been involved with the Women's History Trail, portraying the monologue of Harriet Thymoxina Siler Sloan. Much like Thymoxina, Janet has roots, deep roots, in Macon County. She is currently sharing the position as Minister of Pastoral Care at First United Methodist Church here in Franklin. Janet, I'm so pleased to hand this microphone to you for many reasons. And there you go, dear. Hold it up high.
I've been asked to give the invocation this morning, and I would ask you to bow with me. O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, we come today giving thanks for this day of dreams and hard work finally realized. We thank you for all those who value and seek to preserve the heritage and history of this area in which we live, especially the Folk Heritage Association of Macon County. Thank you for the vision of Barbara McRae and the perseverance of these women on the Women's History Trail Committee, whose labor birthed this sculpture into being. We are grateful for the many people who have contributed time, money, talents, words of encouragement. We thank you for those who have come before us, on whose shoulders we stand, especially those often forgotten by history. We give thanks especially for the lives of the strong women represented by this sculpture. We know our past is as scarred and messy and imperfect as the people who lived it, as those of us who are living with its legacy today. May this sculpture help us to confront our history, inspire us to learn better how to value and see all people, so that we might bring justice and equality to our present and sow seeds for a future lived with courageous hope and fierce love. We pray with joy that it may be so. Amen.
All right, I'm Ann Hyder, and today I'm wearing the hat as the chair of the Folk Heritage Association of Macon County. A brief reflection of history is about 6 years ago, a friend whom you're going to hear about through this morning, Barbara McRae, asked me to go to lunch, showed me the book she was reading, said we ought to have a women's history trail in this community. The rest of that, of course, is history. We have the first, to our knowledge, the only. And then she evolved to share with us her vision of having what we now call the origin of the Women's History Trail, which is going to be unveiled, the sculpture behind us. So we thank her. We'll reflect today. Speaking of thanking, I want to quickly recognize and hope I don't miss anybody. We're honored to have several people here today. I think Senator Kevin Corbin and his wife Beth, if you just raise your hand. Okay. We have Representative Carl Gillespie, if you'll raise your hand. I think we have a Gary Shields standing over that way. Thank you. Okay. Who is our chair of our county commissioners. Are there any other commissioners that I just haven't seen? Okay. We also have our town council. We have our mayor, who you will hear from, Jack Horton. We have been honored to have a couple of the council members meet with us regularly for a while, and that's Rita Salane. If you'll raise your hand. Also, Stacy Guffey. Are there any other council members here? Okay, we have our town manager, Amy Owens. Our town planner, Justin Setzer. We've also got a couple of people who have been keeping in touch as they learn this historical event, and we have some descendants of Rebecca that have traveled quite a long way. Rebecca and Gil Stacy are here. And I don't see, where is Ken Murphy? I took a moment to just think about, sometimes when you work on a very long project, you might tend to forget where we started. And Mr. Murphy has not only donated to this in several ways, but he was the person that I guess got us started with the idea of needing somebody that knew about fundraising and how to evaluate and set up a fundraising campaign. So he's rather special to this project. So thank you, Ken. We also have, when we were mentioning commissioners, when we got some support from the commissioners, Ronnie Beal was on that board at the time, so thank you. And one last, if you have already seen it and will see it, you will be in awe regarding the artsmanship and craftsmanship, and I'll say the design of this park, now the first Women's History Park in Franklin. And if Richard Clark will raise his hand. It's absolutely amazing. So Clark and Company gets an A++. Are any of your workers here? We would like to honor. Thank you. Okay. We appreciate you.
I'd like to invite now the leadership team and our young people guests and dancers, and Rebecca Stacy and Wesley and Odyssey Wofford to come together and reveal to you sowing the seed of the future. Hello. So I invite you now to listen to some comments from Mayor Horton.
Thank you. I've never been accused of speaking softly, so if I get too loud, just raise your hand and I'll quiet down a little bit. But thank you all for being here today. When we were going through the introductions, we just overlooked one person. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Mike Lewis, who's also here today with us. So, Mike, where are you? Let's give him a hand. Thank you for being here. Our town board and, of course, our staff are very dedicated to this project and working through it and supporting it all the way. And it's great to see this come together at this time. You know, I'd like to also, when I get started, to say thank you to Wesley Wofford. He is one fantastic artist. You're not going to believe the detail. I had a chance, some of us had a chance to go to Mr. Wofford's studio in Cashiers when they were getting ready to finish up the sculpture and send it off to be bronzed. And as I looked at that sculpture, it had an effect on me, and I think it'll have an effect on you as well. It touched me. It touched my heart and my emotions. And when you see these characters in this sculpture and what they represent, you'll be moved by it as well. And those people who come to see it from now on, they'll have the same experience as we welcome them to our beautiful city. Sculpture, of course, tells about three women, Cherokee woman, an enslaved woman, and a pioneer woman, all connected by a specific piece of property that was in the Little Tennessee River across from the Quasi Mound. It represents these historical women, but also symbolizes each group of women and their cultural contributions that helped forge modern day Franklin and modern day America. And we thank him for that. He really did a terrific job, and you'll see that when you get a chance to view the sculpture. I would be remiss if I didn't just mention, at least in passing, one person who had a big impact on this whole, as mentioned before, is Barbara McRae. Her picture's right here in front of me, as you can see. I got elected to the town board after some convincing in 2019. And as I was welcomed to the town board, one of the first people I had a chance to talk to was Barbara McRae, who was the vice mayor at the time. And the very first thing that she did was put in my hand a brochure in the history of the Women's History Trail. And so she wanted to make sure that I got off on the right foot. She was quite a visionary leader. And I know she would be very, very proud of this occasion that we're celebrating today. I'd like to also recognize the folks who make this possible. As you've seen them here before, up on this platform, our leadership team with the Women's History Trail, sponsored by the Folk Heritage Association of Macon County. And I would say this back, I go back quite a few years. You can tell that by the gray hair and the lack of hair that I used to have. But years ago, Kevin Corbin's father, Harold Corbin, came to my office when I was a county manager and talked about the folk heritage of Macon County and how great that heritage was and how it needs to be preserved. And he was one of the leaders and the founders of this movement. We appreciate, Kevin, your dad's work in forming that organization. The ladies who've done all the hard work, I'd like to recognize Mary Pulaski, Marty Grievel, Ann Hyder, Teresa Ramsey, and Claire Saminsky. You know, when this project first came about, someone said, well, how much is that going to cost? That's the first question you always ask, right? How much is that going to cost? And if they said it was going to cost close to $400,000, most people would say, well, we can't do that. That's too much money. We'll never raise that much money. But you know what? They did. This is a historic occasion that we celebrate today, one that will go down in history as we get together and come together and celebrate this monument and this place here in Franklin. placed here in what I call the gateway to the town of Franklin. It'll welcome visitors and give them a sense of our history and our culture while emphasizing the critical role that women have played in the development and the sustaining the character of this place that we all call home. It's my honor and my privilege as mayor of the town of Franklin and on behalf of the Franklin Town Board for the town to accept this monument to all the women who have made and continue to make a positive difference in all of our lives. Thank you all for what you've done. Thank you for those who participated. Thank you for being here. And let's celebrate this day and remember it for years to come. We're so very fortunate and blessed to live in a great place like Franklin, North Carolina. God bless you.
Thanks, Mayor Horton, and thanks, Councilman. So I get the privilege of introducing the special dynamic duo who worked hard on making our beautiful historic sculpture. Emmy and Academy Award-winning sculptor, I might add, Wesley Wofford. He's an American figurative sculptor who creates nationally recognized commissions ranging from portraits, site-specific pieces, to monumental-sized public installations. Odyssey Wofford, who is Wesley's wife, is the studio director, and Wofford Studios is located in Cashers, not that far away. So we are very blessed to have them here. His passion about the vision of sowing the seeds of the future and his dedication of this project are deeply appreciated. And now it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage the Woffords, Wesley and Odyssey. Woo!
Hey everyone. So I'm the token male on the project. And I speak with my hands. I don't really do this. But just in reflecting about this project and what this month means and what this sculpture means, I'm the collaborative contributor that had a message funneled through my skill set into that statue. And I think that, it's like the honor of my life to work with the Black community, these group of women, the Cherokee Nation, Barbara McCrae. There's way too many women to name, and I would inadvertently forget someone because of my artistic brain. But for me, I think about like the impact that women have had on my own life. Like the women are the nurturers. They're the women built me. All of these women built this through me. My mom was my nurturer. She nurtured my skill set. Odyssey is my nurturer. These women throughout my life, like I have been made possible because of all of those women, my art teachers, and really that in reflecting like what I'm supposed to say up here as the token male of the project is that all of those women's voices are just passed through me into that, and I'm honored to be that megaphone. And thank you to the town of Franklin for making this such a great project. That's all I got. I can't wait to go see it. Thank you. And also, there are loads of embedded symbolism. There's not a piece on that sculpture that doesn't mean something. So we'll be over there after this is over. If you have any questions, there are loads of embedded symbols within the sculpture itself and Easter eggs that hopefully orated you all can pass down for generations. I mean, it should be here around 15,000 years, something like that. So,
Like Wesley said, immediately following this program, he and Odyssey will be in the Sculpture Circle, and they will be more than happy to share with you any questions and comments, and I invite you to stick around and go talk with him. At this point in the program, I want to say that today is about dedicating our sculpture, but it's also about dedicating 2 additional sites to the Women's History Trail. And I'm first going to talk to you just a little bit more about that organization, the Folk Heritage Association. And I want to say one thing before the clasp hands of the women over there. Oops, well, we're not going to say a whole lot, are we? the clasped hands of the women in the sculpture. The most important thing as a takeaway for me when I look at that is to know that that is a connection of strong women who endured, who over their lifetime they were resilient, they were determined, and that makes the story behind the sculpture for me personal, because we have so many strong women here in Macon County, those who have gone before us, those of you here today, those little girls that are going to grow up to be strong women because of you. And so we're very, very fortunate today to be here celebrating women. The Sowing the Seeds of the Future is going to forever stand on this site, and it's going to be a living tribute to women, and it's going to help us keep our heritage alive. The Folk Heritage Association of Macon County, that's what they're known for: living history experiences, bringing history to life, bringing opportunities to where we can promote our heritage. Our goals are to demonstrate, and we've done that in the past by showcasing everyday skills and music of our ancestors. We also educate, and we try to make awareness of the past and the generations and that history in the past. We try to bring it a little bit to life, so that we and our children can understand and appreciate where we were coming from and the direction that we're going. The third thing is we really try to preserve this heritage. And I think by helping create this beautiful sculpture, we've done that. I think the heritage of Macon County now, we have something, a legacy that we're leaving behind, and it's going to be here for a long time. The Folk Heritage Board is comprised solely of volunteers. There's about 24 of us now, I think, 21 right now on the board. We're still looking for additional people if you would love to volunteer. So we have worked hard as a small group, and they're the ones who are supportive of the sculpture and the Women's History Trail project brought to us via Barbara. And so for many years, another visionary leader in Macon County was Margaret Ramsey. Margaret, in 2004, called together some of you that are here today in a small group and formed a heritage steering committee to say, hey guys, we need to preserve this heritage. It's going to be lost if we don't do something. And so that small group of people formed together and became the Folk Heritage Association of Macon County, and we officially became a nonprofit organization in January of 2005. So we've been working behind the scenes to bring heritage to life, and we will continue to do so for many years to come. Margaret was an active volunteer with a heart for social justice. She was an unforgettable voice and a champion for Macon County, and she cherished her hometown and its history. Today, we're going to be dedicating that plaque of Margaret that you'll read when you go over to the Sculpture Circle as a site on the Women's History Trail. 2 of her children and some of her nieces are here today. I'm going to ask that you wave at us Becky Ramsey, Estes, and her son Joe Ramsey. And also we have nieces, Nancy Jane and Tom Xena here. So please take just one moment and give a round of applause for Margaret Setzer Ramsey.
Thank you, Teresa. When I first got involved with Folk Heritage Association, I worked on the summer festival and did the educational room. And I first met Teresa and Margaret, and they were in charge of the festival, and they were always walking together. And I was afraid of them. You were, Joe says he was too. But it's been my privilege to work beyond that and actually get to know them better and work with Teresa now, especially. So it has been a pleasure. And Margaret was a force. Many of you from this community know that. And none of us would be here as Folk Heritage without her. Another person, of course, that we wouldn't be here without is Barbara McCrae. And in this park that we've established for women, it is the trailhead of the Women's History Trail. So 2 plaques have been added here, Margaret's and Barbara McCrae. Barbara's is at this end, is the entrance on that beautiful stone, quoting her and reminding all of us of the many contributions she made to the community. And then Margaret's is on the other end, closer to the Folk Heritage plaque that explains a little more of what we do. But that completes our park for the most part right now as we know it. And it really encompasses so many wonderful people, especially women, that have contributed to why we're here today. Sam McCrae is here somewhere. Sam? Come on up, Sam. Sam is actually going to tell you more about the plaque and also Barbara. And he said to me last night, you know, I'm probably going to cry. And I said, go ahead, why not? That shows who you are. And I love a guy who can cry.
Good gracious, what a wonderful day. It's been a long time coming. First of all, I'd like to thank some people. Thank you all for coming. But I'm going to run through a list. Please hold your applause to the end. This event will have a great impact not only for Franklin, Macon County, but the state and the region as a whole. It's a vision that my mother had. First of all, let me thank you, Folk Heritage Association, Women's History Trail, and all the volunteers and donors that made this day possible. Ann Hyder, Teresa Ramsey, Marty Griebel, Mary Polanski, and Claire Saminsky. Obviously, Wesley and his beautiful wife, Odyssey. And last but not least for that is Richard Clark. I'd like to say thank you again. You've done a wonderful job. Now I'd like to mention the family members of Barbara that are here today. First of all, I'd like to start with Sherry Sten. She could not make it today. She's sick, and I was with her this morning. First of all, I'd like you raise your hand when I call your name. Barbara's sister, Elaine Sears. Jim Sears and his beautiful wife, Deborah. Jim is her younger brother. Her cousins, Robert Hoke, Teresa Inman, Linda Huffstedler, Gary Hoke and his wife. All right. I found out about this event a couple of months ago. And in my job, I write speeches, I give speeches all the time. But this is different. This is my mother, basically. I live overseas. I came home about 2 weeks ago. And I'm going through her stuff, and I find this manila envelope. And I've gone through her stuff several times since she's passed. And I hadn't seen this. And I pulled it out, and I started reading it. There were letters about my mother from when she graduated high school back in 1960. and I just threw my speech away because I found one letter in there that describes her perfectly, and I want to share it with you today. To whom it may concern, I have observed Miss Barbara Sears as a neighbor during the past year. She has visited with us and the children on numerous occasions, both in her home and at high school social and sports events. She is one of the finest young ladies I have ever known. Possessed of poise, genteel manners, and self-confidence. Her attractive appearance, interesting thoughts, and lovely, well-modulated voice make it a joy to be with her. Worthwhile friends will never grow tired of her companionship. Her conversation reveals a well-organized mind, lofty ideals, and noble, long-range goals and ambitions. She has all or more of the assets with which the great personages of the world begin their careers, and seems to know, better than most children of her age, how best to apply them. I predict that success will be hers, whatever the venture she may undertake in the future. Signed sincerely, Colonel, United States Air Force, Robert Delaney. I'll be done real quick. This man, this colonel, had a vision. Barbara Sears McCrae had many visions, and this was just one of them. Another vision she had was for everyone, namely how to see vision in other people. She did it with these words that are also emblazoned on her monument. Open your hearts, share your thoughts and ideas, listen to others, trust them, and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. We now would like to meet the women. We've got a representative speaker for each of our three women. They'll give us a brief summary. I would like to introduce former Chief Joyce Dugan. She has served as the first and the only woman to date who has ever been elected to serve as the principal chief. That was from 1995 to 1999. She's been a very strong advocate for the protection and the preservation of the Cherokee history, their traditions, and their language. Welcome, Joyce.
Thank you. I'm here to introduce Rebecca Naka. However, there are probably many ways to say it, but she is the lady that is portrayed to represent Cherokee. Rebecca was born in 1793 in the area of what is now the Qualla boundary. When she was around 30 years old, she married Gideon Morris, who was a preacher and a farmer. And they married in Greenville, South Carolina. During their marriage, I could find 9 children on the census that is showing. But other reports say that they had 10 sons and 6 daughters. Now, she was 30 when she was married, around 30. So I'm kind of doubting that information. But I have to say, though, even with 9 children, they left many descendants throughout this area. I know I found out after speaking with a person who is one of my best friends and telling her about this monument. And she said, hey, I'm a great, great, great granddaughter. So I know that she will have her descendants throughout not only Franklin area, the Cherokee area, the Murphy area, and Oklahoma. I say those areas because they lived in many places. In the Treaty of 1819, Cherokees were granted 640 acres to live on. So they were able to get acreage that is bordering this Niquosi village area and the mound. Unfortunately, later they were burned out by settlers. So they pursued compensation from the state of North Carolina because they had been burned out, and they won that lawsuit. So they were able to buy property across the river in the now town of Franklin. Again, close to the mound. In 1852, for some reason we don't know, they moved to Valley River in the Cherokee County area. They remained there for around 20 years or more. And then they moved with their relatives, approximately 70 plus relatives, to Oklahoma. We don't know why they did that. Unless it was because, as most Cherokees are, we want to be with our relatives. Through oral history, it has been reported that Rebecca Nakah worked to preserve her homeland, specifically Niquosi. We are thankful today that others picked up the charge to preserve it, to preserve the mound. To include Nakah in the monument is a testament to the Cherokee history and influence in Macon County. Her efforts to protect her homeland have not gone unnoticed, and it is so fitting that the monument is located close to the mound that she loved. Thank you to all who contributed to this effort to honor 3 women who were important to the history of this place. But let us be reminded that they represent the strength and the resilience of many women who came before them and the many who have come after. As Nakah would say, ski.
Thank you, Joyce. That was informative and from your heart. Our next speaker is Ann Miller Woodford, a friend of Barbara's who worked on a book together for quite some time. After Ann's hard work, Barbara worked with her to edit through it. Ann is one of the women that worked with me on writing the plaques, and thank you. And it was my pleasure to get to know her more, and her kindness and her support and her suggestions were well taken and much appreciated. And I know Barbara would be so happy that you're standing here with us today. And so, Anne is going to be talking about Sally and some other interesting things too, but Sally is a figure for the enslaved women.
Thank you very much, Marty. And I also sincerely appreciate the hardworking, dedicated leaders of the Women's History Trail and the Folk Heritage Association of Macon County. We're celebrating together the lives of the Macon County women, and we're here to honor their accomplishments. I'm committed to building bridges and tearing down walls that divide people in our region. 1 Who Care Incorporated does that kind of work. And I thank Renee, who's a board member, for being here with us today. Her husband is also here, and I thank him for being here. It takes support from our families for us to do this kind of work. So we thank you all. Barbara McCrae was a remarkable woman of courage and strength. She was not only my dear friend, but she was also the editor and designer of my book called When All God's Children Get Together, a celebration of the lives and music of African American people in far western North Carolina. Along with all the other people that have worked so hard, I'm profoundly grateful for her vision for sowing the seeds of the future. Today we're gathering to honor her undying spirit and her enduring legacy. Since Sally was born into slavery in 1799, we'll never know for sure whether she was, as the central figure in this thought-provoking sculpture, a free woman. But it is in her far-off gaze that she may have hope for freedom. She's caring for children who are not her own. She's living in places that don't belong to her. And she's moving at the will of those who owned her. Our imaginations see that she may dream of a land of fadeless days, free from all sorrow, pain, and care, where she could awake when she wanted, rest in her own home with her husband and children, and be surrounded by the love of her parents and grandparents who have passed along stories of the motherland from their ancestors. Although African American people have been the glue that has held this country together since they were first enslaved in 1619, even now, some of us still only dream of a place of freedom, comfort, and peace. Wesley Wofford, using Delphine Kirkland's precious gift as a model and backed up by research by his precious, beautiful wife, Odyssey, has not only created a sculpture, but a portal to the past. He's captured a moment in time that not only encompasses the spirits of women we can only know in our imaginations, but also reminds us of the power of art to transcend time and capture the essence of a person and a moment. Thank you. Shining a light on that point in time, sowing the seeds of the future, poignantly shows the great possibility that three cultures bonded together in a single, heart-touching, far-off moment. And before I go, I'd like to say that the 1 Who Care will hold April 19th through 20th, a women's conference at the Hinton Rural Life Center.
and we'd like all women to go to onedozenwhocare.org. Thank you for allowing me to do this ad. Well, thank you.
I get the pleasure of introducing a very special young lady who's going to be here with us today and share her story. Kate Jones is a direct descendant of Harriet Thymoxena Seiler Sloan. I was fortunate to watch Kate grow up at First United Methodist Church in Franklin, and it was a church that was built on property that was donated by her ancestor, Jesse Seiler. So that was very important. Today, a lot of the Seiler family connections are here. I would like to recognize Richie Jones, Fred Jones, Thymoxena Sloan, forget the Seiler part, sorry Thymox, Bill Sloan, Nancy Scott, Lyle and Kate, and if there's any of the other Seilers that are here today, Nancy Shope, and any of the others that are out here, we say welcome to this family that has been here probably since the beginning of Macon County. We appreciate it. They're actually celebrating their 173rd Seiler reunion in August of this year coming up. So they have been around and we do appreciate them. So please join me now in welcoming Kate Jones.
Hi everyone, thank you Teresa. I think it is great granddaughter. I think that's right. I may have forgotten one or added one there, so don't quote me. So as Teresa said, my name is Kate Jones and I'm a descendant of Harriet Thymoxena Seiler, one of the remarkable women who are depicted in this statue. I first learned of this sculpture when I was speaking with another remarkable woman, Barbara McRae, in 2020. I think because of the pandemic, we were both looking for conversation and partners and friends to talk with, and so that's where we started our conversations. I don't really know what we started talking about, but we always ended up talking about these three women by the end. So Barbara really inspired me to dig into my family's history. Between the things that she shared and the research my own mother has done, surprise, there really isn't that much written about women and their history. So I'm going to share my first awareness of my ancestor, Thymoxena. I remember standing at the house at the foot of the hill, which is just over on Main Street, where Thymoxena lived, in her bedroom and looking at the huge four-poster bed that was hers. And there's this beautiful, intricate portrait of Thymoxena right above it. But I don't remember looking at that portrait. I remember looking at the delicately carved wooden pineapples that sat atop each of the posts. And I remember thinking, that's kind of an odd choice, kind of a bold choice. And from all the things that have been written and passed down about Thymoxena, I gather that bold is a pretty apt description of her. I share this anecdote to point out that while women's work hasn't historically been shared or acknowledged, there are threads of their lives everywhere you look. This statue is just one part of a trail that was created to show us their history, to stand as the testament to the resilience of women throughout history and the interconnectedness of our stories. It reminds us that we draw strength from our environments and those around us, just as roots draw sustenance from the earth. Growing up, my father always encouraged me to bloom where you're planted. I've always loved this concept, but I also know that not every seed gets to be planted in fertile soil. Not every environment is built to sustain. In today's world where ecological, social, and political challenges loom, we must remember the importance of tending to our collective garden. We must learn from the mistakes of our past, acknowledge our shared history, including the injustices perpetrated by my own ancestors, and work tirelessly to create a more equitable future for all. So as we look at the statue, let us be resilient like Naka, Rebecca, strong and caring like Sally, and bold like Tim. Let us not only honor the accomplishments of those women who came before us, but also commit ourselves to sowing seeds of positive change in our community and beyond. Thank you.
Dibana, Dibana, Shona, Shona Malanga, Shona, Shona, Shona Malanga, Shona, Dibana, Dibana, yo yo ay 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 yo yo Ayuta continua Shona Shona Malanga Shona 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 Malanga Shona Dibana 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 Shona Shona Malanga Shona 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 Malanga Shona Dibana 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 Shona Shona Malanga Shona 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 Malanga Shona Dibana Dibana yo yo ay 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 yo yo Ayuta continua Shona Shona Malanga Shona 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 Malanga Shona Dibana Dibana yo yo ay 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 yo yo Ayuta continua Shona Shona Malanga Shona